ladies and gentlemen, to NBR, or as we like to call it around here, Nothing But Rants, the show where I find topics that I'm oddly passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I'm hot about. What's up? You like that? You really like that?
Let's shut up and grind some tape.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome into the Film Guy Network on a wonderful Tuesday evening. You know, that Jim Harbaugh guy, he was like notorious. I mean, like famous for not saying anything at all. And saying so little that sometimes the little things that he said were talked about. Like this is, for example, a football coach who is asked about his game day tactics and how he goes about coaching on the sideline. And he said, I coach we-fence. That was it. He didn't go into very much explanations, but, you know, obviously it's a pretty historical quote from him. We-fence, the combination of offense and defense that we play as a team. That's what I'm focused on game days. Not saying a whole lot right there. This is also a football coach who, when asked about his future this year in the lead up to both the Rose Bowl and the national title game, when asked about his future, he simply responded with, a future? Boy, I hope I have one. What? Nerd. What are we talking about here, man? Like, this is a coach that was notorious and historical for, like, first ballot Hall of Famer for. That dude ain't saying shit. And even when he doesn't say something, it gives us a little something to talk about, you know, like we-fence or hoping to have a future. And I don't know if you know this, but that's not exactly or particularly like par for the course for football coaches. Football coaches, when they get to the microphone, they're either dead, like just absolute boring as can be, or they just lie in front of the microphone, or they say stuff they're not supposed to say in front of the microphone. Bottom line, they're football coaches. They're meant to be speaking in front of rooms of football players, not rooms of microphones and cameras. Oftentimes, they will put their foot in their mouth. So it is not guaranteed that you're going to have a football coach stand in front of the media at all times and give you classical shit like we-fence and never really give you anything to poke holes into his program. And this was a lesson that you would think maybe, possibly, somebody who worked underneath Jim Harbaugh might be able to pick a little few things from the trick of the trade of saying a lot but not saying a lot. Chiron Moore didn't exactly do that today. Chiron Moore was on Rich Eisen's show, king of Michigan fandom, okay, former alma mater, you're not a former alma mater, a graduate of Michigan is Rich Eisen, had the new coach on his football program today and asked him about these NCAA investigations, and I quote, "We don't know what's going to happen with it, and we are just going to take it day by day. But just like Coach said, I think we're innocent, and we'll keep trucking along and attacking every day, and that's what we are going to do." What? I think we're innocent? What you mean you think you're innocent, bro? That's not how you go about that. You say, you know, we are innocent. We'll fight it tooth and nail, all that good stuff like Coach said. Boys, I think we're innocent. Welcome into tonight's show. Can't believe a head football coach came out here and told somebody, I think we're innocent with regards to those science stealing allegations.
You know, it's typically hard, like when you're just reading a quote to fully grasp, like exactly what they're talking about or the emotion behind their statements or anything like that. But even just reading the quote, reading the graphic that was plastered all over Twitter, you could get a sense of a feeling that he didn't say that very convincingly, and he didn't even fully believe it. Just adding in the word think. Yeah. I think that we're innocent. It's like, all right, dude, you got us now. Like, we understand now that you are guilty.
Also, my mans, you're coach now, okay? So let's not refer to coach as coach. You're coach.
Yeah.
Okay, Jim Harbaugh is not there anymore. You are the head coach. So ain't no more just like coach said. My mans, you're coach saying. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to set the tone here, brother.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, to play devil's advocate, I can tell, like, he was trying to probably say, I believe we're innocent. Like, in my personal belief, I think we're innocent. But when you put that on paper, when you put that on a Twitter quote, it looks really bad online. Just say, I think we're innocent. I mean, you can put emphasis on it how you want. It's not a good read at all.
What was really wild was I went looking for the video. I went straight to Rich Eisen's YouTube page. I figured, hey, this is noteworthy stuff. Buried the lead, bro. I don't know where it's at. I guess you got to go to his live stream from today and then siphon through and find the timestamp of the actual interview with Chiron Moore. But you would think this would be kind of like Chiron Moore says, about the NCAA investigation. Nah, this one's kind of, I'm not going to say hidden, but you got to go search for it. You know what I mean? Which is unlike normal situations when news is broken on somebody's show, which is exactly what this is newsworthy to me, that the coach slipped up and said, I think we're innocent. Again, it doesn't mean a hill of beans other than the fact that maybe, just maybe, we now have two examples of television, moments for Chiron Moore that might indicate he might not be ready for this job. Okay, the first being crying on national television, like big ugly cry too, that kind of cry on national television. And now this, we think we are innocent. It doesn't always have to be like this. Sometimes, like I said, just hit him with some defense, bro. Just hit him with some just absolute nonsense to have people talking about the nonsense, not running to on three. On three do a man dirty, by the way. All the photos that they choose to use of Chiron Moore on tweeting of this quote today were like big time, like, gotcha. You're an idiot. You stuck your foot in your mouth.
It was like the drunk Kirby picture that everybody used to use in edits and stuff like that.
Oh, not everybody. That's a Hayes Fawcett classic of making my man Kirby look like he's just out here
drunk Kirby was
slumping through
always plugged
life.
into
It didn't even look like drunk Kirby. It looked like Kirby off some lean. But yeah.
Granted, he's had minimal public appearances as Michigan's head coach right now, but the more you watch this guy and the more you hear about what's going on with the Michigan program, it almost seems like he's kind of the guy that's going to take the fall when shit hits. It feels like that.
Very scapegoat.
Yeah, and it sucks for him because, I mean, that's going to affect your coaching legacy. But I just can't think that Michigan put him in place to say, okay, you're going to run the future of our program. It seems almost like it's like, all right, hey, we're going to have you here until shit hits a fan. Yeah. Everything's going to get blown up, and then we're going to restart from a whole new. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. We got more on that subject coming up in just a second, but I want to welcome you guys in. We got a loaded show for you guys tonight. We are going to continue to talk about how it's not just, not saying the right things or keeping your mouth shut when you probably should from Chiron Moore. His program is being ransacked worse than I ever thought or predicted it would be. I remember coming on this network middle of December and saying, hey, win, lose, or draw, whatever happens with this Harbaugh stuff, he's either going to leave you in sanctions or leave you at the doorstep. Luckily, he left you with a national title, but, man, he ain't really doing you any favors on the way out. The mullet man on the trail, and we thought mullets were big. This is big-time mulletry out here on this recruiting trail that we're going to talk about today. We thought it'd be good to do some tier talk, okay? A lot of people doing power rankings. We're going to do something a little bit different. It's titled power rankings. They're ultimately going to be power rankings, but it's really tier talk, and we're going to start with the SEC. I believe, and we believe, we've come to the consensus, there are only 4 tiers of college football teams in this world. Today, we will bring you those 4 tiers. We're going to talk about the lone 5-star set to make his final announcement tomorrow during traditional National Signing Day, and the keynote topic tonight. What is the Red Solo Cup of college football? Shouts out to Toby Keith, RIP, a legend right there. Should have been a Cowboy, my boy. Learned to rope and ride. I'm talking about it. All right. But what is universally loved and also universally used in college football, whether it be a person, an object, a thing? Start, racking the brain stems there tonight for your submission for the Red Solo Cup of college football. And believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, linear television, as I'm sitting here talking to you on YouTube, linear television seems to be making a return thanks to ESPN, Fox, and Turner. So we'll be talking about that tonight as well. But first and foremost, make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button. Make sure you are firing off in the chat. Look, those of you who have found us, those of you who live on this channel, y'all know how great it is. What I need you to do next is continue to fire off in that chat. Hit them emojis up in that chat. Hit that thumbs up button on this video. Make sure you're leaving a comment. All the type of algorithm trickeration we can possibly do via your help, please go ahead and do that right now while we're asking you to do so. Also, Prize Picks, promo code Brooks, 100% deposit match. I don't know if you know this thing, but it's called the Super Bowl. It's going on this weekend. Prize Picks has got a plethora of options for you available. Perhaps we will talk a little bit about those tonight as well if we run out of topics, which I doubt we do, because we do indeed have a loaded show. Promo code Brooks, prizepicks.com today. Go support those who support us. All right, Where should we start, boys? I think we should continue talking about this Harbaugh stuff because I called it. Okay, and I didn't call a national title. In fact, I was on the opposite end of almost every prediction possible with regards to Michigan football this year. However, I did kind of let you know that when Harbaugh leaves this place, boy, is he going to just pillage the village. And I didn't think it was going to be this bad. All right, but it's bad. At this point, we have gotten to, I believe the count is now 5. All right, he hired an analyst named Dylan Roney from Michigan, took him off that staff, going to take him to LA with him. Jesse Minter took him from that defensive coordinator staff, made him the defensive coordinator out there in LA. The strength and conditioning coordinator, Ben Herbert, oh, you're a Charger now too, Bubba. The defensive line coach, Mike Elston, oh, yep, you know it. You're an NFL coach now as well. He's actually targeting the defensive backs coach as well. It just hasn't been made official that Steve Clinkscale is most likely going from Michigan to the Chargers as well. Oh, and by the way, I think his other brother worked for Michigan at one point. They took him to LA and then shifted him or shipped him up to Seattle. So I think the count might be 6. Nonetheless, stop the count. Jim Harbaugh is just wrecking this staff for Chiron Moore.
Yeah, it's different because Alabama obviously had some departures from their staff. Kevin Steele retired. Reese is now with the Cleveland Browns. T. Rob is now at Georgia. But that wasn't like Nick Saban bringing them to his new location. This is Jim Harbaugh saying, all right, Chiron Moore, leaving you with my – I don't even know if you can call it his baby because I wouldn't even call it that. But I'm leaving you with the responsibility of taking over this program. But you're going to have to start from scratch basically because not only are you going to be in trouble later on, but I'm also going to take everybody with me as well. That sucks.
Is Jim Harbaugh a mastermind when it comes to this stuff? Because his public persona is like he's just the I don't want to say bumbling idiot, but
no, that's a trick. That's a ploy.
Yeah,
that's planned. He wants you to think that
exactly because I mean he just pretty much ransacked the entire Michigan coaching roster, and meanwhile he's set them up for failure in the next few years. And meanwhile, the entire fan base will defend him tooth and nail and call you a hater if you say anything bad about him. I mean, it's the perfect plan.
I don't know very many Michigan fans in my life. I think we've had this discussion on this channel before. You win a title and you can kind of do whatever malfeasance you want, apparently, in college football. That's kind of been the standard everywhere except for Alabama.
Right.
And, because it's kind of expected that, multiple coaches win there. But it's Lloyd Carr and it's Jim Harbaugh up there, is it not? I don't even think Lloyd Carr won at that rate. Bo Schembechler, maybe, or is that Ohio State coach? You see what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
there ain't a lot of them, and I know I'm missing one of the most famous ones. I'm gonna have to go Google right now because I don't have a real production assistant in our ear off camera right now like most people do. But nonetheless, they don't run into a lot of these. So they won their first title in 32 years or whatever it was, and it's like, hey, however you fuck us on the way out, we're good with it. Sorry, I know I've been all over the F words lately. It might be the flu brain.
Flu brain.
You haven't even done any giveaways for it yet, have you?
Hey, man, it's like an end of the year thing, maybe. I don't know. Something. We're going to do something.
We're running out of space.
I honestly genuinely think even if he didn't win the national title at this point, I think that they all – like Michigan fans would have been content with him just beating up on Ohio State. I think that rivalry is clamored after, and it is just – it's the king to them almost. A national title is almost just icing on the cake. The fact that you beat them 3 years in a row, right? It was 3 years in a row.
It was Bo Schembechler. I'm a genius.
That enough, in my opinion. I think they would have been like, maybe you came just short of a title, but hey – you beat Ohio State 3 times in a row.
I think we're innocent.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that title is what the title was his golden goose.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if you won it last year, like say hypothetically,
but the way that they defended him like blindly from the jump. It wasn't like they won a title
right.
And then you found out about all these potential sanctions or whatever. It was mid-season. You had no idea if you were actually going to win a title. They blindly defended this man, and they blindly just like got the pitchforks almost like, we will defend this man even if it means it's our life.
I would argue that Michigan fans, while they absolutely did defend Harbaugh, I think they were more defending the Michigan brand and the Michigan name. Now, obviously, that comes with defending Harbaugh, but the fact that a lot of people saw it as, our institution has come under attack and we must defend our show our loyalty to the program and we're Michigan men and all that, I think that's more where it stemmed from. Now, they did defend Harbaugh because of it, but if Jim Harbaugh goes in the NFL and has another scandal where he's cheating, I don't think Michigan fans are going to come out the woodwork and be like, hey, stop, no, you're wrong.
You're a good guy, man.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Jim Harbaugh strikes me as a human that would give beer to his horses.
His horses?
Oh no.
He doesn't know that.
You do understand that reference, don't you?
No, I don't know that one.
Whiskey for my men, beer for my horses.
Oh, Jay Will.
Google it. You'll figure it out. Yeah, I don't know what success looks like for Chiron Moore here, because, bro, his coaching pool, his coaching tree has to consist of the Harbaugh tree. That's all he's been exposed to, and now it's been cut in half and separated between what used to be Michigan and Baltimore, and now it's cut in half and split between Chargers and Baltimore. And there's nothing left for a guy like Chiron Moore. I don't even know his background. This was more of an offensive coordinator that got promoted in-house, and normally you leave the house intact when you go to do this. I don't know how, if I'm Chiron Moore, I don't know how I would feel towards Jim Harbaugh at this point. You set me up, basically.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks for the opportunity. I'm a Power 5 football coach, but
set me up for failure.
You cut my legs out from underneath me.
Yeah.
And, oh, by the way, we talked about it to start the show, but we haven't really talked about it. You left me with all of the mess with the NCAA stuff. All of the mess.
I mean, I think that's the biggest component of it all, is that Harbaugh gets to ride off into the sunset and the entire scandal is behind him, to where it's not going to really affect him. I mean, he gets his no-show clause, at worst case scenario, so what? He's in the NFL. He's an NFL coach. He's probably going to have good success with the Chargers. Chiron Moore is the fall guy for this.
Yeah.
It sucks, man. If he manages to win, hell of a coaching job. Obviously, it's going to be very interesting to see who he staffs that coaching staff out with. Maybe he goes very, very young. Maybe he gives a bunch of young coaches, position coaches, some opportunities. But again, I just don't know what the guy's coaching tree ultimately looks like. So that'll be interesting. Any more thoughts on the Michigan rating of that roster and staff?
No.
I don't think he has to worry about the transfer portal coming to get his guys. We haven't seen that, right?
Yeah.
We haven't seen big names from Michigan leave, and because there's not very many left, right? It's the corner, it's Miles Graham, the defensive tackle, and it's Donovan Edwards. Those three players, I would imagine, are nationally coveted by other teams. The rest of that roster is Michigan developmental people, and I think that's the one I overlooked. And for you talk to Michigan people, the most important hire that Jim Harbaugh ever made was his strength and conditioning coordinator, Ben Herbert. Apparently, they do very, very revolutionary stuff up there at Michigan. They have a tiered step in their building where they measure how fast you can jump up, stadium steps, basically. You have to, bound? You have to bound up these stadium steps, and they time you. And basically how fast you do it is a direct metric of how explosive you are pound for pound. The record holder is like a defensive tackle. And it was that Nazi Smith guy that was a first-round draft pick.
Yeah.
So there you go. Very, very interesting strength and conditioning tactics that will now be thrown in front of Joey Bosa. So we'll see how Joey Bosa thinks about these things. I've heard some stories about Joey Bosa. Joey Bosa, likes his own workouts. Doesn't necessarily love the idea of so this is what we're doing today. No, this is what I'm doing today. Thank you for my $27 million this year. I'll see you on Sunday.
I mean, if he's going to get 10 sacks this season.
I was about to say, as long as you deliver.
Yeah.
Which, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is the NFL model that will soon be coming to college football near you. Hey, as long as he's justifying that salary, baby, I don't care what he does Monday through Friday. Good luck. Hey, it's going to be an awesome time. Awesome time. Speaking of awesome time, we got linear television coming back our way. Now, for those of you who are my age, I'm just now a cord cutter. I just recently got rid of AT&T's TV package because I was like, well, we don't need it anymore. But then you start racking up the Hulus, the Netflixes, the Peacocks, the YouTube TVs. Had to buy a little Fubo subscription in there at one point because I'm a company man. There's a lot of different things. And all of a sudden, what was my TV cable package that I think if you took Wi-Fi out of most TV cable packages, you're ranging anywhere from $80 to $140, depending on how many special channels you have on a monthly basis. If you told me my subscription bills were north of $60 right now, I wouldn't be shocked. I would be like, it makes sense. Because, again, if you told me what Netflix's price is right now, I wouldn't know. Is it still $8.99? No. Or did they jack that up to almost $15? No. See what I'm saying? They got my credit card. It's OV. It's done with. I'm good. So now we have Fox, and we have ESPN, and we have Turner, all of which have their own streaming apps currently, right? ESPN Plus, and you can get Fox Sports and FS1, and you got to pay, and it's part of your linear. And now those two massive companies, plus Turner, who is much, much bigger of a television company than I believe most people realize, now they've all merged, okay? And now they have gone into cahoots on what is ultimately going to be a joint streaming platform for what we would imagine is all of sports except for CBS. Yeah. CBS got cut out of this one, which is probably because they're owned by Paramount, which again is a whole nother macro discussion about parent companies, like the fact that TNT and Turner also owns Bleacher Report. Again, macro discussions, real big business sports industry guy right here. Just trying to study up on my industry every once in a while probably will behoove you as someone who works in this industry.
Mm-hmm. So who like generally owns it then?
Say what now?
Who like generally owns it then?
I guarantee you it's a percentage split off who's putting up the money. So here's how this works. If we were three companies, right? I'm ESPN, you're Fox, you're Turner. Okay, we're going to put in $100 million into this startup streaming service. I'm going to put in $35 million. You're going to put in $35 million, and you're going to put in $30 million. We're going to split it 30-35 or 35-35. You got the other 30. All right, and we're going to be stressed liably at the same rates at that percentage clip. I would imagine that's how these joint ventures work.
Yeah.
With regards to streaming services.
I mean, it's pretty much cable contracts, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like it would be like, yeah.
That's the linear television model that we're talking about.
Pendulum swinging back.
Yeah, we're kind of we modernized to go back. Mm-hmm. You know, just like we're kind of doing in college football now. We're getting rid of the governing body that we don't think is good at governing the body. And now we're going to hire and have someone paid to be the new governing body is what we're hoping when we separate college football from college. Interesting time. Interesting time.
It's especially interesting considering who Fox has for college football and who ESPN now has for college football.
The obvious turning point of this conversation and segment, right? It's like, hey, we're like 5 days removed from the Big Ten, who's Fox's biggest client, and the SEC, who is ESPN's biggest client, outside of the NFL, which is both of theirs conjoined biggest client. Now these two companies are coming together to create a streaming service. Oh, that's kind of interesting because the Big Ten and the SEC just created a joint venture as well, if in no other reason than decision-making process, which in multi-billion-dollar industries and businesses, saying that you're coming together on making decisions together might as well mean you're coming together to be a business together. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So, yeah, very, very interesting timing on this. But you would imagine a three-headed streaming service took a little bit longer to put together than 5 or 6 days
no doubt.
From this, scheduled announcement from the two conferences.
Yeah, I feel like this is definitely something that's been in talks for a while, which is basically like, why don't we just combine everything to where we have to get a flat rate? I mean, it is linear television. You're basically paying for cable again, except it's streaming now. So,
yeah,
it's how the world works.
History repeats itself.
That's a surprise face.
Yeah, I'm over here trying to do a bit where I read Toby Keith lyrics to you, and I just ran into that one from Willie Nelson in Beer for My Horses where he might be talking about ropes and trees, which
yeah,
little bit, edgy, to say the least. Sometimes with the lyrics, but hey, R.I.P. Cancer, R.I.P. No fun.
Don't recommend it.
Don't at all. Stay away. Donate when you can. Yeah, linear television coming back. That's wild. Are you gonna pay for it? I'm hook, line, and sinker. You got me, baby.
I mean, yeah.
It's tax write-off. Tax write-off for all you guys.
Am I gonna have a choice?
No.
That's the
like if I want to watch college football,
you are Stream East. All you young folk, y'all are.
Chill on me.
The willingness to be out here streaming illegally is wild to me because it's so inconvenient. I've done it. Do not get me wrong. I have used some illegal streams on every single UFC fight that I don't feel like paying $80 for. Okay. But that's about it. That's the only thing I will trust it for because you know what? It would suck to miss a knockout, but it's not the end of the world for me. But if I miss an OT touchdown because Stream East just dropped and I got to find the new damn link, I'm going to lose my freaking mind because, I'm trying to run 3 screens, 7 different games. I'm trying to watch them all on Saturday. And being out here on the Stream East ain't really helping. For those of you who don't know, Stream East is an illegal streaming service where you can get some of these things for free illegally.
So I mean, the way I understood it is if you have ESPN Plus, then you should have this, right? That's how I kind of took it.
No.
That's dumb.
You have to cancel your ESPN Plus subscription and buy this new bundle, or have both.
Well,
you think ESPN is gonna be like, hey, don't worry, it'll roll over? No. That's not how that works. They're going to get you both times.
Well,
just like I'm pretty sure HBO Max has got me both times, where I think I'm still getting charged for HBO Max while also getting charged for Max.
I think it's just Max, though.
You would think.
HBO Max doesn't even exist. It's
no,
just
it's
Max.
It's dead.
It's sayonara. I understand. Again, all of the streaming stuff, there's a lot of overhead and waste in every family in America nowadays with these streaming services.
Just keep it bundled with my Hulu and I'll be all right.
Yeah. Which I think I missed on that. I think I have a ESPN Plus account under my college email with a Hulu account set up under my wife's email because, you know.
I got the Disney Plus, Hulu, ESPN Plus bundle.
I wanted the bundle too. But there was a miscommunication there.
Yeah, it happens. It happens.
You know what? My coach, Robbie Ross, used to always say, the one who taught me the cool trick about the fair catch and the extra points.
Yeah.
Robbie used to tell me, hey, lack of communication, that's a problem that we can fix. You know what I mean? We can address the communication issues, which we'll ultimately be able to do eventually with regards to the streaming platforms, getting them all cleaned and figured out. Put this picture up on the board because, my God.
Which one?
I want Steve Belichick on my screen right now.
As long as it's not the
I didn't get that picture.
You didn't get that one? Which one did you get?
The one that we have for our local hour.
Oh, yeah. No, let's not worry about that one. Let's find a way to either put it on that screen or put it somewhere for this viewer because, my God, this is the crazy. I mean, I've seen this before. I've been well aware of the Steve Belichick, how do you say, persona. It's not even a persona. It is just thing. I've been very aware of this thing because I've seen it on national television doing some weird tongue stuff while calling, defensive plays. But the fact that this right here is out on the college football trail, out here doing the work, my God, I can't tell if that's majestic or if that's homeless. I don't know where to go with that.
Saw it said he looks like the mascot for Zins.
Someone said he looks like he should be on one of those Walmart designer T-shirts that I wear all the time. It's almost like a concert tee.
He looks like the dude that I would see on Patrol Live. You guys ever watch that?
No.
It's like a 3-hour show
PD?
Was Live PD, but now it's On Patrol Live. That's what I would envision.
He does look like he's new boot goofing. He looks like he could work for Reno 911.
He looks like he bit people when he was a kid.
One more look at it. Yeah, I just keep that up for the audience. How many different great things are going on right now?
What's the plane
Definitely
for?
had a mohawk at one point in his life.
What's the
think
plane
so?
for? Am I missing something?
There's a plane in there.
Look at his left shoulder.
Is it a water plane as well?
Yeah.
It's like a crop.
It's like
Well,
the Indiana
it's Seattle,
Jones plane.
It's Pacific Northwest. You know, you land planes on the rivers out there. Here's my thing. You think
guess.
that mullet's going into Oakland, California, and pulling out a defensive tackle recruit or a corner or a wide receiver or anything? You think that's going to South LA? An in-home visit in Compton. How you think that's going? Because that's where this man's got to recruit now. You got to understand that. Like that's working in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. That is happening. You know what I mean? They're like, ooh, have you seen Steve today? That boy got a fresh fade on top of the mully.
Yeah, might have to go bald.
I mean, Kalen DeBoer, granted, he didn't clean up in the recruiting process, but he did all right out there. I wouldn't take a look at Kalen DeBoer and be like, yeah, that guy's about to clean up
bald.
South California.
Here's my thing and my question. If you were the son of the greatest football coach of all time, would you want to be like, look at me guy? Like, would you want to draw unnecessary attention to yourself? Or would you just want to be known for your merits of, hey, you know, he's a pretty good football coach. That Bill Belichick's son's kind of good. You know what I mean? Or do you just kind of want to be a very standout guy? Or is the mullet just his thing?
Maybe that's his way of separating himself from his father. Maybe he doesn't want to be like Bill. Because Bill is very much, don't look at me. I just want to stand in a corner and dominate. NFL.
Dad went cut off hoodie.
Yeah.
I'm going to go mullet.
Mm-hmm. And just be a rock star.
Is there a single person on this planet rocking the mullet that doesn't want to be looked at? Aren't they always all making a statement? No one thinks that looks good, right? They're like, you know what? I'd look sick ass in a mullet.
I think there's some people that definitely think that they just look fantastic in it.
Bro, is he on his own shirt?
No, I think that's just a graphic, like, made in front of it.
I don't know, bro. That's him in the middle of that shirt.
That is him.
That's him in the middle of his own graphic shirt.
That is definitely him.
Guys.
With a hoodie on.
Guys, how is he going to have sideline pictures of him wearing Washington gear?
It's a good edit, dog.
He's got to edit with him with a shirt on.
He's on his own shirt. That's sick as shit.
Who else would that be? Clay Matthews?
That's an extremely grown out version of his mullet. That is definitely
him on the shirt.
Then who is it?
That's him, but it's not like the shirt he's wearing. What I'm saying.
Nah, I see what you're saying.
Like he's not wearing the shirt.
You don't think when they made the edit, they put himself on? They edited him on his own shirt.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I don't know.
You
Looks
just
like
think that's him in front of him with a shirt on?
Yeah. Like they didn't.
They didn't make an edit with a shirt of him on his face or him on it.
Yeah.
I don't know. The two little mini wolves underneath him are kind of lit though.
Yeah.
So a lot going on. Bottom line,
great job on the graphics team. Like,
yeah, probably took a minute to do that one. You would imagine, right?
No doubt.
Photoshop. You can do a lot with Photoshop. It's very impressive what these young interns can do.
You know, for all the talk about all the coaching tree out of the Belichick, regime up there in New England, didn't hear a ton about him. Even
honestly,
though
kind of forgot about him for a little bit.
Yeah, I just knew what he looked like. I don't know his merits as a football coach.
Everybody remembers him being on the sideline, just looking mean mugging and doing all kinds of weird stuff.
Yep,
weird ass dude, man.
Yeah.
Hey, we'll see how he leads a room though. I think that would that fit in. I know the answer to this question, at least personally. That would fit in better in the Southeast than it would out Northwest, right?
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know.
But maybe being a Northeast guy, maybe he can be a Northwest guy.
Yeah,
maybe he can be granola mullet guy.
Yeah.
You know?
If you think about Belichick came from Navy, was in New England, that's not Southeast at all.
No.
He succeeded there, so.
I was more thinking about just the general aesthetic of what that looks like.
Yeah.
That's going to fit in down here better than up there.
Oh, yeah. Aesthetically,
Definitely.
Definitely a tobacco chewer, right? He's not a Zen man. He spits the brown juice,
I don't know, dude.
right?
He looks like the
I don't know.
mascot
When
for
they
him.
said Zen poster child, I got more so that dude.
Bro, that's
dude grizzly or
yeah. He dips like chewing tobacco.
I dip
You know what I mean?
kayak.
Yeah. He on the beach
Stokers.
nut. Nah, he on the beach nut, dog. Y'all know nothing about beech nut.
I don't know
do you?
nothing about
Beech
that.
nut's like old school leafy tobacco. I'm talking about the stuff that in the Rookie, that dude was out here chewing with the thick brown juice stuff. The stuff that Nick Saban apparently
Red
chews.
Man?
Yeah, it's a version of Red Man.
Yeah, I mean, I know Red Man. I don't know beech nut.
Beech nut, dog. The only reason I know about beech nut is because shout out Coach Phil Williams. My high school baseball coach was kind of a bully. Not really. I mean, today wouldn't be allowed, I would imagine, but was one of these hysterically funny old coaches. And we had a kid on our baseball team named Chad Beckham. Shouts out to Chad. Chad, I got chubby cheeks, but Chad has some hamsters on him, right? Mm-hmm. And coach called him beech nut because it looked like he had two big old pouches of beech nut in his lips. Because he had big old cheeks. So he called him beech nut. That's how I know about beech nut.
Interesting.
So yeah, there you go. Anyways, where were we at?
We were talking about
this man right here.
Belichick.
Yeah, I don't know how that was gonna pass out there in the Pacific Northwest, but we're gonna have to see. All right, here we go. We got tier talk. Now, everyone does rankings talks. Everyone does, and it's a kind of a version of doing that ourselves. But I genuinely, and I proposed this to the chat today, I proposed 3 tiers and then realized there was indeed a 4th tier of college football teams. Now, these 4 tiers, tier 1 is an annual national title contender, okay? Somebody who every single year we look up in August and September and we're like, yep, that team's going to have a chance, all right? That's tier 1. Then tier 2 is, hey, for real, this team could seriously win a title. Whether they get, just get it all together in the perfect timing for 1 year, or whether they're a perennial 10-2 team that, hey, just might sneak in and win a national title that 1 year when all things come together. That's tier 2. A lot of teams fit in tier 2. Now, tier 3 is something that was invented by a singular man, but in the days of name, image, and likeness and the ability to, roster value and pay for your, best players to come to your program, I thought it was necessary to add tier 3 into this discussion, which is the Cam Newton tier. The Cam Newton tier is, damn, that guy's so good, that team could win a legitimate national title despite the fact that there's not a single other NFL football player on the entire roster except for a guy named Nick Fairley who's going to flame out in the NFL in 2.5 years up in Detroit. So the Cam Newton tier. Now, that's tier 3. Tier 4, a lot of teams fit in tier 4, which is, you got no shot. Let's be honest, you got no shot of ever winning a national title. We just don't think it's ever going to happen. Now, we thought it'd be good to start with the Southeastern Conference because, it just means more. So we're going to start here. How do you want to do this? Do you want to just knock out tier 4 and just call it a day right there?
Yeah.
And then go from there?
Yeah.
All right, tier 4, 1, 2, 3, Vanderbilt.
Mississippi State.
See, you went Mississippi State. I'm going to withhold that. And I think that's where we need to go is tier 3 immediately because of this discussion. Here's why I think Mississippi State fits into tier 3. All right, they have Jeff Lebby now as the head coach, and there is nothing stopping that booster base and that region of the country from balling together $2 million and buying the next best or version of Cam Newton, having him for 3 years, getting a crack at, hey, we have the best quarterback in college football paired with Jeff Lebby, and we're going to put up 45 points this week, and we're going to win.
But, theoretically, could any team not do that? Vanderbilt.
No, Vandy cannot.
Vandy's not
Vandy
really
will
good
never
quarterback
get that
away.
player to ever go play there.
And even if they got him, I don't think it would lead to a potential national title, in my opinion.
Yeah, too many holes. At least in Mississippi, there's some. Hey, we can scrounge together a JUCO roster that's SEC caliber. Plus, we have the best quarterback in the country.
There's a legitimate chance that Mississippi State could find another version of Dak Prescott somewhere.
It don't even have to be Cam. You're right. It can be Dak.
It's like a Dak. And I know that they have that. At one point they were the number 1 ranked team, ended up not playing the playoff. But now in this new 12-team playoff, if you put them in there, who's to say that that quarterback doesn't go on a streak or a run or a tear, and they end up in a national championship game? I think there is a world where Mississippi State finds that quarterback and they could make something happen.
I don't see it happening. Sorry.
So you're out on Mississippi State, and
Yeah.
did you want to get debunked on anybody else in this conference for tier 4?
I have Arkansas, and I'm leaning South Carolina there.
See,
I'm not 100% South Carolina.
I'm on the other end. I'm in tier 3 for both of those programs.
I am too.
For this exact reason. I think Arkansas is very similar to Mississippi State in the sense that, hey, y'all have the assets to ball together and come together one time at the right time for the right guy. Is it plausible? Yes. Is it likely? No. But that's why they're tier 3 and not tier 2 or tier 1. You see what I'm saying? But I find it hard, Kirby, to sit here and say that Mississippi State could never be in a title contention or never have the opportunity to do so or doesn't deserve to be in tier 3. They have no shot when we've seen them be ranked number 1 in the last 10 years.
I give them a 5% shot.
It's still not no shot.
But
which means they
even
can't
at
be in
that
tier
point,
4.
like Vanderbilt could do the same thing. They could get a once-in-a-lifetime player that could carry a team, a roster.
I disagree.
James Franklin teams are ranked in the top 15. If they get to, they're in the top 12, they could get in the dance and make something happen. Like anyone could make anything happen once in college football. The fact that we haven't seen it happen over the last 20 years. Yes, I know the Mississippi State team was ranked number 1, but they ended up the season with 3 losses, I think.
I would also just go to say that Arkansas at least has done it recently where they got themselves up into the top 10. Again, I know that they didn't finish that way. But KJ Jefferson, I wouldn't put him in this Cam Newton category of he's a superhero, he's going to save your season, but he's a really good quarterback. If you found a better version of KJ Jefferson, there's a world where Arkansas definitely could get up there.
All right, so it's 2-1. We'll side with Mississippi State being 3.
I almost put.
I almost did.
Yeah.
Almost did.
Yeah,
but I don't think we're doing a good enough credit or job of talking about Jeff Lebby, the head football coach, either. We don't know we don't know for a fact what it's going to look like, but we know the offense is going to be entertaining. So I do think there's an opportunity to say, hey, maybe they do score 45 points on their way to a national title contending team. I'm not giving them no shot. But I will listen like we just did to that argument. The other tier 3 teams that I have listed, I have South Carolina, Kentucky, Arkansas, and I put Texas A&M in this mix.
Really?
I did, and I was very teeter-tottering on both Missouri and Texas A&M. I think they're the toss-ups, the two teams that, hey, are they tier 2 or are they tier 3? Texas A&M to me historically tells me that's a 7-5 program. Like, I know we don't like to tell people this. They're an 8-4, 9-3, maybe on a good year type of football program. They've won 10 games, I think, twice in the last 30 years or something like that. It's just not. It's not what people make it out to be. And the one time they had an opportunity, they bought their way into it. They basically Cam Newton'd an entire roster. So that was kind of why I wanted to put them in Tier 3, but I could listen to this Tier 2.
I think for Texas, I had Kentucky in my Tier 3, but I did not have Texas A&M or Missouri. And just for the reason of, like, exactly the same conversation that we were having earlier before the show of, if you told me, hey, Texas A&M is going to win the national title this year, it would be kind of crazy. Like, it would seem kind of out there, obviously.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't be something I would just be completely blown away. Like, whoa, what? Come on now. Like, there's no way. I mean, I can picture Texas A&M winning a national title. There is somewhere in this universe, there is a world where I could picture Eli Drinkwitz hoisting the college football playoff trophy.
So you want to hold those guys off for Tier 2?
Yeah,
I'm with you.
I have A&M in Tier 2 simply just because the resources and the passion behind that fan. I mean, you've seen it. It's a cult. I think, like, hypothetically, just say you give Kirby Smart or Nick Saban that 2022 A&M roster, they can do wonders with it. I think the fact that they had Jimbo Fisher leading them, a guy that made his money and was pretty much checked out from the moment he got there, I think that's the reason why that team failed. But I think they are more than capable of winning a national title. So
consensus Tier 3 teams, South Carolina, Kentucky, and Arkansas, and then we have Mississippi State in Tier 3. You might have them in 4.
I have them in 4, yeah.
Okay. Which is fine. Now, that moves us into consensus Tier 3 teams, or Tier 2 teams, which are, hey, this program could seriously, like, they could win a title. If they banded it together and did it at the right time. These programs, in my opinion, being Ole Miss, Tennessee, Oklahoma, Auburn, and we put Missouri and Texas A&M in this mix as well.
I'd put Florida.
Florida, I forgot them.
Yeah.
They're right there.
I would honestly, and this is going to sound weird because they are a consistently great program and they have won multiple national championships over the years, but I would put LSU as kind of
I was teetering them
this
Tier 1.
2 team.
I don't know. Like,
here's my thing on LSU though. When they're good, they're great.
Yeah.
But when they're not winning national titles, they're 9-3, 8-4. They're maybe throw
which
a
is
7.
slap dab Tier 2.
Yeah, or maybe throw a 7 and 5 in there. Now they rise to the top more than any other team on this list.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're consistent. Like, hey, LSU's a real contender this year. Like we saw it last year where everyone was like, hey, LSU's a legit contender, and they ended up with 3 losses.
So I did this. I went into this when I looked at a team like LSU, I'm assuming that Brian Kelly is going to be at LSU for the next 8 years or so.
Yeah, if he didn't take the Michigan job, I think he's kind of locked in there for a while.
And as long as Brian Kelly is there, I believe that they're going to go into every season somewhere in that conversation of this team could potentially win a national title. This team is going to be in the top 12 when it counts the most. Like the LSU Tigers are going to annually be somewhere in that conversation. Maybe not at the top, maybe right below it, or maybe a little bit outside of it. But I feel like they are going to be annual national title contenders in that realm.
The one I was leaning towards putting in Tier 3 was Auburn. And I mean, simply because you look at that 2010 Cam Newton season, that's really the only time. You can count 2013 if you want. It took 2 miracles to get there.
So
it took 2 miracles and 400 rushing yards from Trey Mason for them to get there.
Here's why I put Auburn in Tier 2, despite the fact that Tier 3 is named after their best player of all time, other than Bo Jackson. There were the Jason Campbell, Tommy Tuberville years.
Right, absolutely.
We can't ignore those. They're also like –
shoot, I mean, 2017. They would have been in the playoff if they beat Georgia.
Yeah, with
Jarrett Stidham
as the quarterback. So, like, we know that history shows that, I mean, it's not outside of the realm for Hugh Freeze to win 12 games in a couple of years.
Right.
You know, so I think that kind of entrenches them in that Tier 2, you know, kind of mold.
Yeah.
The weird thing that I get into in these tier discussions is, like, is Florida always a Tier 2 team?
Yeah.
Like, are they just guaranteed to be Tier 2 because they're Florida? Or can we not talk about how, it's been 3 bad hires in a row? It's been Jim McElwain, it's been Dan Mullen, and it's been Billy Napier, which we're still bad. You know, jury's still very much so out.
It's been 4 if you want to count Will Muschamp.
4 if you want to count Will Muschamp. It's been 4 bad coaches in a row.
To me, it boiled down to I don't think it would. The pure requirement for them to compete for a title is not getting yourself a superhero quarterback. Like, they can put it all together in some way. Like
talent, proximity. Like we
absolutely.
can do all of the.
It can happen quickly for like DJ Lagway. If they continue to build off of that, 3 years from now when he's a junior, Florida could easily be a top 12 football team. It's just going to take some time, and it looks bad now. Obviously, like if you look at it from just the surface level of Florida right now, you'd say there's no way that they're a Tier 2 team. You couldn't seriously say that they're going to win a national title. But when you kind of strip everything down and you get the foundation, Florida absolutely can compete for a national title.
I think we're going to come to a consensus on the 3 teams in Tier 1 that are left.
No.
No?
I had Alabama in Tier 2.
Yeah, I had a question mark next to them.
Yeah.
But Georgia and Texas are strongly entrenched in Tier 1 right now.
I don't think you can fairly put Alabama in a tier because, I mean, we just watched 17 years of the greatest college football coach of all time. Like, we don't know what that program – I mean, beforehand they weren't great, and we don't know what they're going to be after him. But you have a 17-year window where it's like we don't know what this program would have been otherwise.
I just didn't feel comfortable knowing, like, this is an annual basis for, like, the next 10 years or whatever. I don't feel comfortable saying Kalen DeBoer and Alabama right now are going to be annual national title contenders. I'm comfortable saying that they could seriously win a national title.
Yeah.
But, like, the guys that I have in my Tier 1, those are people that have longevity sustained right now. Like, they are set up for runs, and they are set up to have sustained success over the next stretch.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with either one of those.
So in Tier 2, we said LSU, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Oklahoma, Auburn, Missouri, Florida, and Texas A&M.
Yep.
Those are teams that we legitimately believe, hey, if they won a title, not outside of the realm, they didn't have to do anything just crazy. They just put it all together at the right time, a la what Ole Miss might be able to do this year with Lane Kiffin. That moves us into Tier 1, which we're circling Bama right now. We don't really know what's going to go on there, but it's borderline. We want to put it in that Tier 1 because of its historical context, but again, there's too many questions about what the future looks like in Alabama, which leaves us Georgia and Texas, the only Tier 1 solid, guaranteed, put it in pen. Yeah. We feel good about those 2 teams. They're perennially here to compete for national titles.
Both of these programs should make the playoff the next 5 years consecutively. Like, if they don't, something has gone catastrophically wrong.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, those are the first 2 teams you put in your tiers when you do this. It's Georgia, Texas. All right, now let's start thinking a little bit.
All right, so who are some teams on these tiers that we could see in the next 18 months to 3 years change what tier that they live in?
I think if Drink puts together another season like he did this year, I'm full in on it. Like I said,
full in on Tier 2?
No, full in on
Tier 1. It's a coveted range to be in Tier 1, man.
Yeah,
we're I think another second place finish in the SEC from considering LSU and Brian Kelly into Tier 1.
Yeah,
that's where we're at. Drink's got to do it two more times, maybe.
But Brian Kelly's never competed for a national title at LSU. Like, I mean, as
great
as that first season was, like, he had 3 regular season losses.
Yes,
and a couple of blunders that made no sense.
Yeah,
so I'm with you.
So, like, I don't know if I can consistently say, like, yeah, he's going to have them. He didn't have it at Notre Dame really either. And yeah, I know he had 10-win seasons consistently, but it was either like a 9-win season here or 11-win season here to get your brains bashed in the postseason. So,
I somehow, some way, Brian Kelly became criminally underrated over the last, I think, since Family. Since that viral video, I think he has become criminally underrated. And I told you to do this. Go look at his stats reference, dude.
Yeah.
The guy's won 11 games for 20 years
he's
in college football.
He's extremely consistent.
He's an extremely consistently great coach. Despite that, he's goofy. He's just goofy.
Yeah, but I mean, being consistently great and consistently competing for national titles, I think that's another rung of the ladder.
So, but either way, those 2 schools, LSU, Missouri, could definitely, reestablish themselves in new tiers over the next 2 to 3 years. Alabama could reestablish themselves in Tier 1.
Alabama, I mean, not even reestablish, just cement themselves. Like, yeah, we're still Alabama. Nothing's changed.
I don't know if I'll ever give up on Florida being a sleeping giant, despite the fact that 4 guys have brutally effed it.
Yeah.
1 guy got to an SEC championship game, but that's it.
I think Florida has kind of reached where Tennessee was 5 or 6 years ago, whereas like we had it all at this. We are at the peak of our program. When we were at the peak, we're unstoppable. We're a monster. We're a powerhouse. A couple bad hires later, and now look at us. We're just trying to pick up the pieces. And I mean, Tennessee's kind of picked it up recently. Yeah. I think Florida needs to do the same here.
All right.
And when they do, it's very scary.
Go ahead.
I mean,
I thought you were about to say
I think I could. It's hard because it's like I feel like I'm putting stock in these coaches by saying this, but like I feel like maybe over the next 6 years, Auburn could get into that range of being an annual national title contender. I feel like,
especially with Alabama gone.
Yeah, I mean Hugh Freeze has recruited well with Auburn, and I feel they kind of got a good basis. I mean, doing what they did this last year with what they had on that roster, I feel that should be recognized and commended. Still got a ways to go to get yourself into that conversation, but I feel comfortable saying in like 6 years, if we looked up and we were like Auburn competing for a national title for the second straight year in a row, like I'd believe it.
I wouldn't put it past them. That Yellowwood lumber money goes a long way.
Yeah, it does.
All right, so there was some news around Tennessee today as their temporary restraining order was denied. Now, I'm gonna say this: there's a lot of really good reporting going on. A lot of people working really, really hard. But I do a lot of reading. I think I'm relatively smart. I'm not like off the charts brilliant, but I ain't no dummy. And I'm going to tell you what, every time I read one of these NCAA investigation articles or plaintiff, lawsuit reporting or anything going on right now with the court systems, man, y'all do not make this shit very, reader friendly. Everything is extremely, extremely confusing. So much so that when the NCAA basically won in court today, but they really didn't win in court today because they're going to lose in court in like a week. I don't even know how to explain it to you, but I'm going to try. All right, so the temporary restraining order was denied today because, quote, the plaintiffs didn't show that there would be irreparable harm if the court didn't act before a full hearing plus the gathering of evidence, not because of the merits of the case. So an NCAA win on the short term, but it looks bad for them in the long term. This comes from Sam Elrick on Twitter. So essentially, they didn't give them the temporary restraining order, but it looks like in the long run that the court systems are going to file in favor of Virginia and Tennessee, which basically what they have said is the NCAA can't really enforce these rules because, well, antitrust lawsuits, they're full of shit anyways. Got it?
Got it.
Understood.
So there we go. Martyr, yay Tennessee, yay Virginia, to hell with the NCAA. The Saudis are about to buy college football.
Put that on a shirt.
We did it.
We did it. We fixed college football, guys. All we need is somebody to come up with $75 billion to buy the Big Ten and the SEC, and maybe we take Notre Dame with us and make a super team or super league. Who's got $75 billion? Anybody?
Nope.
Okay. Not to be doom and gloom guy, but if the private, league does happen, right? If the super league happens, which apparently everybody's favorite, media analyst that you're listening to nowadays, that's what they're all clamoring for. Let's just make a super league. Let's separate college football from college athletics. Man, I don't know if y'all gonna like that. And I'm talking about you. I'm talking about you, the fan. Because you, the fan, listening to this right now, odds are you just entrench yourself in red and black, or you entrench yourself in that god-awful piss Tennessee orange, or you do whatever you do because you love your university, all that good stuff. We fitting separate universities from football. That ain't but what it's gonna be. The Super League is gonna be exactly what it sounds like, a super league. And it's going to have nothing to do with college athletics anymore, which I don't know how you're going to feel at all. You think that's a good idea?
I mean, it's keeping her from running around on wires.
Okay, that's okay. I'm just going to text the wife and tell her to hurry up and get down here. So there's that. The dog just escaped. So shouts out to our girl, Melissa.
She held in for almost an hour.
She did. She did a very good job. There we go. A little late. You're like 30 seconds late on this one. You're going to have to get up and hand her to the wife. One of you. Just an absolute shit show going on here in the Austin household. That's my wife making her camera debut. I love you. We will never hide from the behind the scenes around here because every once in a while it just happens. But yeah, who's got this money? Because this is the way I explained it last night. Imagine if all 32 teams in the NFL were up for sale. But here's the trick, and here's the caveat. They're not 32 independent sales. They're one big conglomerate sale. So it's not just you got to pay $6 billion for the Washington football team. You got to pay that times 32 to get all of them.
I want to buy the NFL.
Yeah, who's got the money?
It's not in this country, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. It's not in this country at all, okay? and there's some human rights violations attached
Might be some
to it.
sports washing taking place.
We get
in
crazy
college
when
football.
Elon Musk buys Twitter.
Hey, but it's a super league and F the NCAA, so that's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's what it's all about.
So there you go. SEC Tier Talk took us into that, which is great. Early national or traditional National Signing Day coming up tomorrow. Can you believe it?
Didn't even know.
It doesn't even
Put it
what
this
is-
way. There's like 8 people who are going to sign Power 5 scholarships tomorrow, according to 24/7 Sports' announcement letters. Or like they're hyping it up. They're trying to get people to watch their stuff tomorrow, which they're good business strategies doing so. There's like 8 names, and the last 5 of them are 3 stars. You were telling me an interesting story about how your mother loves some football before the show.
Yeah, she loves me and she loves some football. I remember in 6th grade, I was sitting at school on National Signing Day, and I'm just sitting on my laptop, literally like refreshing Twitter, doing all the things, watching the ESPN cast and everything. And I was like, I'm not doing anything at school. I just want to go home and watch this on my TV and do whatever else I want to do. And so I texted her and said, can I check out of school and can you take me home so I can watch National Signing Day? At first, she said I was dumb. It probably didn't call me dumb, but yeah. So she let me check out of school, and it became a tradition. Every single year, National Signing Day, I got to play hooky from school and just sit on my couch, watch National Signing Day on ESPN. And like, I don't know. To me, it was just the coolest thing ever. I loved it. I just ate it up as a kid.
That would never happen in my household.
I mean, it would happen in mine.
I didn't miss school that much. So she was just like, if this is what you want to use your one skip day on, go for it.
I miss school constantly.
I never.
Checks out.
Yeah, unless you were puking your guts out in the morning,
Yeah.
you were going to
So
school.
unless I had a fever, it was like, you're gonna have to go.
Yeah.
I need you out the house.
Yeah. Skipping school for National Signing Day coverage on ESPN is wild.
I
Do you
loved
remember
it,
what
dude.
year it was?
It would have been 2012. I remember the first big one that I absolutely loved was when Roquan Smith.
Is that like the Isaiah Crowell class?
No,
that's
Isaiah
after
Crowell was
that.
2011.
This would have been like
Todd Gurley,
Nick
Keith
Chubb,
Marshall.
Keith Marshall.
It's a big one.
Yeah, and I would sit there and I had my free blog that I was using or whatever that 2 people probably read, and I would write stuff just because I loved it.
I had a conversation with somebody about this actually today. When they eventually privatize college football and all these kids are on salaries and they're signing contracts, do you think the inside information on the recruiting trail is going to be like, we're just going to have a bunch of Adam Schefters, right?
Yeah,
You're just gonna have
you'll have the
people who are-
Woj of
You're
college.
you're going to have people talking to agents. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean,
So what is my whole thing though is like, so what happens now with high schoolers in that type of setting? Like what happens to the 3-star that is maybe borderline, you could get into the SEC or you could maybe get in the Big Ten, but really the people looking after you are people outside of those 2
Like
conferences.
Memphis.
Yeah, like Memphis.
Yeah.
How does that, like, is that a different type of recruitment? And
it would be a different league.
so it'd be like, I guess the process then becomes, okay, if you don't get drafted by the college football
Correct.
superpowers, then you're
Correct.
going now on the table for the
No, you're a scholar athlete at that point.
you're on the table.
You're what kids are now.
You're on the table for the Rocks Football League as well.
No,
Well,
you're-
comparatively. Yeah, that's
But
what I'm saying.
Here's what it's going to be. Here's what kids are going to have to make a decision on if this happens. If we go to a private league, high school football players are going to have to decide, hey, am I going to go, am I worthy of making $200,000 to play for the Georgia Bulldogs, who wear the University of Georgia logo that they pay for, or am I going to go be on scholarship at Memphis? Right? Am I going to be a professional athlete or am I going to be a college athlete? That's the new decision that's going to ultimately be had. And what's going to be really, really weird is, salaried employee number 86, the borderline guy, like the quote unquote walk on or the quote unquote late offer kid on this major level is going to be very, very weird and hard to explain. So yeah, whole lot of, as the chats are talking about, overreactions. You gonna think I'm overreacting when the Saudis come by college football? It's a joke, but it's not. We're really at that point, and that's wild to me. We're also at the point where the only 5-star left to announce tomorrow is Terry Bussey. Do we want to watch this film? I know we're already pinned up on the local hour. I'd rather go ahead and do it in terms of getting into the local hour. There's one 5-star left tomorrow, and he's down between Texas A&M and LSU is what it seems like.
Yeah.
Texas A&M seemingly having the upper hand here on this recruitment.
Yeah, it seems like
how it
that's what's
seems.
going to happen.
Georgia got a late visit late in-home visit, and it sounds like he listened but wasn't really listening. So there's that. I think he's going to play defensive back in college, but you were watching a little bit of the tape today, and he's basically playing quarterback.
No, it was listed on his huddle profile when I pulled it up. I was watching the basketball highlight tape.
He a hooper?
Yeah, a little bit. He's shifty point guard.
5-star athlete, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a pure
Probably
athlete.
done playing hoops.
Yeah, that wasn't an updated hoops highlight tape.
If Kool-Aid McKinstry ain't playing hoops in college, ain't nobody playing hoops in college. Kool-Aid McKinstry was him at Pinson Valley. You should go check out them highlights. That was some yams.
I like
some.
That's getting clipped.
Some yams.
Talking about like a combination between like Kyrie's handle and like Zach LaVine's bunnies.
Ooh.
Yeah, no jumper though.
That's okay.
Not
if
good.
you can slam it.
If you can slash and slam like that, you
Derrick Jones Jr. kind of made a career in the NBA just being able to slam it.
Yeah. But as soon as he stepped foot on campus, Nick Saban was like,
You really thought we were going to do that?
You really thought we was finna let you play basketball? Yeah, you're not very smart.
You ain't even play for the intramural teams. So.
Yeah, for real, dog. You are not allowed to touch the round ball ever again. Red Solo Cup of college football. All right. I think it's going to be an interesting topic. You suggested it, so please explain to the audience what the hell that we're talking about here.
So basically, the song everyone knows the Toby Keith song "Red Solo Cup," where basically he talks about how. There it is.
We can't sing the whole thing because
we'll get
copyright
copyrighted.
issues. But we can. We can do that one.
But no, it's basically how he talks about it's a universally loved object that's representative of parties in American culture and all things of that. So I figured, what's something in college football that's universally loved? Everyone has one, and it's kind of the symbol, like the essence of college football. That like you think like this is something you only really see in college football.
I got it.
Took a different route. That's okay. That's a good thing, I think.
One universally played every single stadium, Zombie Nation.
Oh.
Every nation.
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
Some swag surf, maybe. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I like that. It's like what stood the test of time, too. Like,
Now,
you could have played it 15 years ago.
I'm going to blow my wad here. This one's not universally owned, but it is universally loved. The Boise State Blue Turf. I don't know a single person that hates the Boise State Blue
I know
Turf.
a lot of
That
people.
was a
I
state
know a lot of
exhibition
people
match
that
on
hate it.
NCAA 14 playing at Boise
Those
State.
people are lame, and you shouldn't associate yourself with them.
I'm just saying, they exist. They exist. That's all I'm saying. I had turnover props. Because everyone, like every university's got one. Everyone's got their own unique style of it, and it's something that, like, you see that, it's like that's something you're only going to see in college football.
Wouldn't say they're universally loved, but majority loved. I would definitely say.
Like each university loves theirs.
Yes. Oh yeah. For
like
sure.
Akron loves their tire, bro.
Their
Still
donut.
one of the coolest.
Not even
things
like
I've
a
ever
good
seen.
looking tire. It's
Still
a donut.
one.
Bro, it's a straight
That is
up
my-
bum ass tire they picked up off the side of the road.
That's
dog.
my favorite. I love that.
Okay.
I hope that's
I
in the
love
new
the
video
local historical context to the tire because apparently tires are a big export of the city of Akron.
Tires and LeBron. That's about
Akron, the city of built on rubber. Love it.
I took a different route
You
because
don't
I know that this
Never mind.
this is not universally loved, but just hear me out a little bit. I think Mac Brown is the Red Solo Cup of college football.
What?
Listen,
All right.
just hear me out.
let's
Hear me
hear
out.
it.
Hear me out. Hear me out. Been around the game for a long time. Always reliable. He's gonna deliver you a winning season. Always is going to do that. May not be as elite as he used to be. You know, I don't think the Red Solo Cup is as
not
elite.
peaking.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
people get these Yeti cups now.
This song was the
They're
peak.
finding the new fad or whatever, but still, like if you need to pull it out of the cupboard,
Shouts out to Stanley.
it's still going to deliver. Absolutely. And then, like, if you need to call upon him, there's a good chance that he's still going to be there for you. Mac Brown may not be making the headlines anymore at UNC, but still winning seasons, producing quarterbacks in the NFL.
And he's enjoyed best with a good mixed beverage.
And like I said, yeah, that's
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, you ain't a Mac Brown fan unless you out
it's
here
9
hard
p.m.
on the sauce at 9 p.m. watching them lose to App State.
Yeah, no doubt. So I just think because of like the longevity of his career and everything, like I think Mac Brown can be a Red Solo Cup of college football.
I like it.
What do you got? You already blown through them?
Bro,
You only had the
I
one?
only did one.
You only had the one?
There is only one Red Solo Cup.
I thought the kicker's tee is one.
That's a good one.
Everybody has a
That
kicker's
that
tee.
Super
green
buff
tee.
refs.
Oh, yeah.
Always yoked.
Oh,
every
yeah.
time.
But only the head judge.
Only the head
The
one.
line judge, old Pudgy Dumpy. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I had a first the other day. I was watching
round body head ass.
I was watching the Atlanta Hawks in the Golden State game. A country accent ref came over the microphone. Never heard that. And
Ball boys. Everybody's got them. Some
gotta have them. You gotta have them
Some
somewhere.
steal footballs from the ops.
Yes, they do.
Andrew Smart's going to make a hell of a ball boy.
Bro, I want to see Andrew Smart's collection. What do you think he does with all his footballs?
Oh,
He's got them in his room somewhere, right?
Half of them are probably like sitting in the backyard right now, just
Sells them.
trashed.
Yeah.
He sells them at school.
No, dude,
No,
$150
he doesn't sell
footballs
them
just
things.
trashed in the backyard. He doesn't care about
Dogs
that shit.
chewing on them.
Hell
just
yeah, dude.
all kinds of shit.
That's honestly hilarious.
He's like the kid Sid from Toy Story, but with footballs. He just
Yeah.
brings them home and does horrible
I
things
love
to
that.
it.
Andrew Smart is the type of kid that would take the clear Elmer's glue and replace the Purell, the class hand sanitizer, with it.
Man, you sound like you know a couple of them.
I was that kid.
I was about to say, it sounds like he was that
I
kid.
was
Mom
that
didn't
kid.
let him skip class, so he just effed with the teachers.
Screw this
the whole
place.
time.
Yeah,
I'm
I
just
had to
gonna make everybody else
I had to
miserable.
ruin a couple people's days.
I think Zombie Nation was a solid.
Yeah,
little
Zombie Nation
suggestion
was a
there.
good one. I like that.
All right, we have a whole nother hour coming up right now. See you in a second.
Welcome into Talk the Dog, the show where we find a bone to pick and a take to give. These are not hot takes. These is dog takes. Can I talk that dog? What's up? You really like that? Let's shut up and grind some tape.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back into our local hour. We finna talk that dog. Boy, does it pay. Boy, does it pay to be the starting quarterback at the University of Georgia nowadays. Obviously, Carson Beck in the news today, at least all over social media. Him and some goofy man in a pair of slacks standing in front of a Lambo truck that retails at $300,000. Now, this obviously ties back into the discussions that we had to kind of nip in the bud here on the channel about, 2 months ago, when somebody in the beat basically said that Carson Beck demanded north of $4 million to come back to the University of Georgia. We told you that was some fugazi, that we were under the impression and under the sourced impression that the real number was about 1.5, maybe just under $2 million, with regards to whether that be all, pay for play mixed in with a little bit of marketability, mixed in with actual true NIL, all this good stuff. How the means of the money comes about is very, very hard to understand nowadays in college football. But we get kind of a ballpark number, that ballpark number being about 1.6, 1.5, 1 point whatever million dollars. Then, of course, the photo popped up today, where he's standing in front of, like I said, a $300,000 Lamborghini truck. And a couple of things that I want you to know. I want you to think about this legitimately. Obviously, that car is leased. I hope that car is leased. I don't care if he makes $4 million, if that is the real number, which I don't believe to be the case. If he spent $300,000 on one singular purchase, that's a bad purchase, okay? So if you have representation, Carson, that's allowing you to do this, I would, seek different representation. But let's talk about the realities of this. And we don't do a lot of pocket watching on this network, but we fit in a pocket watch like hell on this topic because it was in the news today. So, $300,000 car. Let's talk about that over here first. Let's talk about the actual money that he's making. Let's say he is making $1.5 million. That's about $125,000 per month that is getting, put into his tax ID. All right, now let's assume the tax man's taking about half of that. It's really about 42% in that tax bracket, but let's just round up for keepsake and easy math purposes. Let's call it half of that to the tax man. Oh, also, by the way, obviously he's got representation. Representation does not come free. It comes with points. Let's give his agent about 10%. So if we started with $125,000 this month and we took 60% out of it, gave 50% to our bank account to wait for April to pay the tax man, and we gave 10% of it to our agent, well, then we still have about $50,000 left over this month to spend on whatever the hell we want. And if we decide that we're going to pay about $3,500 a month to lease a Lambo truck, I mean, it's not the best decision in the world, but it's not the worst, because what the hell else you going to do with your $50,000 at 22 years old, 23 years old in college where, oh, by the way, you don't have bills. I mean, his room and board doesn't cost him money. His books don't cost him money. The food that he eats at Bones don't cost him money. So what else am I going to do with my 50 G's, boys? I'm probably going to go buy me a daggum Lambo truck. I had this discussion in the Discord today. Give me $100,000. I'm 29 years old. I'm going to do some dumb shit. Like, who cares? I have $500,000 sitting in my bank account or whatever it is.
Yeah, or you buy some Yeezy slippers like he had on.
That was wild.
I would donate to charity.
I think we need to pull up this picture.
Go for it.
Because to me, it looks like he just rolled out of bed and was like, let's go buy a Lambo today.
Let's spend a half a rack.
Let's just go
That's
do
the
that
style
today.
nowadays, bro.
Yeah, those are some really expensive lazy pants.
You gotta look like you're not trying.
Yeah.
That's a whole lot of lazy, expensive fit.
Yeah, no doubt.
altogether.
Yeah, he spent $350 to look like he shopped at Walmart.
Yeah, I don't own the
Strip.
Yeezy slides, but I have heard they're extremely comfortable. They just don't look the best.
Strip.
You know what they told me about the first time with that definition? Crocs. That was the slogan
See,
of Crocs. Man, just wear them. They're really comfortable.
I don't like Crocs.
I don't either, but that was the original selling point.
Put me in a good pair of slides.
And they're
though.
edible. We've already gone through this, bro.
Yeah.
We've talked about whether or not you can eat your Crocs. I don't know where you were at during that show.
I didn't like Crocs because they always gave my feet blisters.
They tore holes in my socks, bro.
But nonetheless, $300,000 truck and in some sweats.
Are we really calling that a truck?
Yeah, I mean, it's listed as a truck. It's definitely not. It looks like an SUV,
It's
but
like people who
nonetheless.
call Suburbans trucks. It's not a truck.
Yeah, get over yourself. The IRS views Tahoe as a construction vehicle or a taxable vehicle, 6,000 pounds. Same for a Range Rover. I haven't looked into it. I'm just saying. But
Ranger
yeah,
danger, huh?
No, not that. No, Rangers do not qualify.
No, they do not.
Well, no, he said Range Rover.
But no, I what is up with this? Why do people do this to young football players? You know the thing where they're like, oh my God, it's a shame that young man is making that much money and he's spending it on here. Where are his parents? Where are his, again, if you bought it, you're a goof. If you didn't, which I don't believe he did. Look,
Yeah.
I told you guys this before the show. I saw Carson in February of last year driving like an F-150, like a baseline Ford F-150. Obvious that this type of money has not reached his bank accounts. And then quickly it was a Hellcat, and then quickly it was a Mercedes, and now quickly it's a Lambo. Clearly we are leasing these vehicles. We're not purchasing these, because if he were, he probably wouldn't have very much money left in his bank account right now.
Plus, like, for everybody saying that, if you just descale it and you put it in the perspective of what you bought while you were in college with what money you had, you bought some dumb shit with your money. I mean, maybe not a freaking car, a luxurious car, but maybe some other stupid things, minuscule things that were a lot of money to you. And you were like, whatever, dude. I'm in college. I got no responsibilities. I'm going to buy it. I don't have any bills. My mom's picking up my tuition or whatever. I'm going to go ahead and buy this because I can. And then 5 years later, like, wow, that was kind of stupid. We all do it. We just don't get to do it to the level that football players get to do it.
Yeah. I've always said it, and this isn't my thought. This is just basic thought processes. We don't do it to the 18-year-old country musician. We don't do it to the artist. We don't do it to the stock investor. We don't do it to the young person that was gifted $85 million when their grandpa passed away. We don't do it to these people, but we do it to 19-year-old football players. I think there's some underlying tones in that. We don't have to get into that discussion, but it's young people who play a physical, aggressive sport, and you guys think they're not capable of making these decisions. Who's to say they are or aren't? It doesn't matter that much in the long, run of things. How people choose to spend their money is kind of, American 101. Like, just it's your money.
Yeah.
Use it when you need it.
Absolutely.
Damn, that commercial's gonna be stuck in my head all day.
You're welcome. So I wasn't blown away by this, but it is wild. Like, why? Come on, man. You need a Lambo, dog.
Yeah. I mean, how they don't even get to drive to class anyway. So how often are you even really driving this vehicle?
Yeah, there are some restrictions now.
Yeah, they're not allowed to drive to class.
for Georgia.
Which,
football players.
I say that, but then I heard Tate talking about how he was parking over at the Ramsey Center and he got a parking ticket.
Which, by the way, speaking of trucks and speaking of NIL deals and speaking of Georgia quarterbacks, I mean, he wasn't driving a Lambo, but that Ford Raptor that Stetson had was not a $6,000 or six-figure car. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was top of the line Ford Raptor and going on out here. Which,
I mean,
about 130
that
maybe.
but that is Stetson's Lambo. Let's be fair.
Yeah, that's true.
Like that was
in
a
Blackshear,
Lamborghini.
Georgia, you
Lambo,
pull up in a
you're right.
Raptor. Oh my gosh,
Bro, you can't. I mean, well, you can. Apparently, you can dip Redman in a Lambo because our guy Nick Saban was doing it. But
Yeah.
you can't be out here spitting the Grizzly wintergreen on the floorboard of a Lambo. But you might be able to get away with it in the Raptor, baby. You know what I mean?
no doubt.
So, just don't go speeding. Just don't go speeding.
Yeah.
I think it'd be
Just
all
do
right.
some cruising.
But yeah, talk about a come up. This time last year, my man was driving an F-150. So
Respect.
respect, man. Go get your bread, cuz. Good on it. All right, welcome into our local hour. We got a great show for you guys playing tonight. Georgia doesn't win a national title if we're going to talk about that tonight. Hardest player to replace in the Kirby Smart regime. We thought it'd be good to talk about that. Should Georgia be concerned about this SEC football program that is obviously spending a bunch of money? And no, Chris Foster, I am not talking about your Tennessee Volunteers. It's asset. I think we're going to talk about that tonight as well. But first, I want to give a quick shout out to our friends over at Prize Picks. If you have not already, especially with the big game coming up on Sunday, run over to prizepicks.com today. Use promo code Brooks. You'll get a 100% deposit match. What does that mean? It means if you put up to $100 into your account, you will immediately get matched $100. And guess what, boys? I was told that Prize Picks wants to extend their deal with us because I wore pants today.
Ooh,
So how about that?
it's amazing what pants can do for you.
Pants, man.
Like we
Serious,
got
Clark?
Jake from State Farm khakis on.
No, we got the joggers on,
okay.
dog.
I was gonna let
All
you do a
We got
runway.
the joggers on. What?
Go. There's a runway for you. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Nah, we ain't got to do it like that, dog. I just
Come
want to show
on,
my
man.
hamstrings
Set
are
up
nice
for
and
you.
loose. Yeah, no, we're good. But, you know, the dog got her shine today. We don't need to do the catwalk.
Oh, that's true. Millie
fair
took the
enough.
spotlight today.
Yeah,
She did
no
take the
doubt.
spotlight.
But, nah, we got pants on today, so we might get some new sponsorships today.
Love that.
Because YouTube comments told me that I lack professionalism because I dare wear shorts behind this desk where you can't normally see my legs unless I get up and walk to the board, which I think is a perfect dichotomy of how silly that discussion is for us. We are YouTube football analysts that have this. Guys, turn on YouTube. Ain't nobody doing it more professional than what we're trying to do on our own dime right now. So sorry I wear some goddamn shorts every once in a while.
It made me think of that. What's his name? John Clayton, the ESPN anchor.
Yeah.
And I'm doing my segment, Ma.
Great.
He just
great
takes off the
commercial.
crop top suit that he's got on.
I saw that comment this morning. I was like, he's gonna talk about that on air.
Yeah, he's not going to be happy.
He's
about
You can't come
He's
after
not
the
gonna let
drip
that one
and,
go.
and,
Yeah,
and
don't
not
be coming
catch the
after
flag.
my drip,
Yeah, I
bro.
was
Why,
like-
man? I know who you are. I know
We just
what you
spent
look like too.
whoa, we just spent 5 minutes shitting on Carson Beck for what he was wearing.
You're right.
We can't be all righteous
right.
now.
You're right. I do. He has designer sweatpants. I have designer gym shorts. So I am guilty. So this is fair.
Hey, if their players can show up to the podium in it, we can do a show in it.
This guy gets it. You know what I mean? This guy gets it. He understands. Hey, UGA doesn't win a national title if what happens, boys?
I think if the defensive line doesn't take a step forward this next year, I think that could be problematic for them for this reason. Not just like I think that last year for what the defensive line was, Georgia still could have went on and won a national title with it. But I think this next year, it's even more important for them to take a step forward because you lost to Kamari Lassiter, you lost Tyke Smith, you lost Javon Buller. You're going to have some moving pieces in that secondary. And if you want to fully reach the ceiling and tap into the ceiling of the linebacker group that you have next year, having a really good and stout defensive line that's moving people around, moving bodies, and creating holes up front, that's going to maximize the success of your defense. So to really get into what that defense can actually become, it's going to start with the defensive line.
I like that.
I went way simpler than that. I just said if they play their worst game in the postseason.
fair.
You have your worst game every year. Now 2021's a
Laying
caveat.
an egg.
2021's a caveat because it was in the postseason. You still made the playoff. I'm talking about the playoff now. If you play your worst game in any of those 4 matchups, you're not winning the national title. Georgia can beat 97% of college football teams with a B-plus game. We know that. But if you turn that in against a playoff team, suddenly you're going home. I mean, we've seen it time and time again where this team that is seemingly unstoppable throughout the entire season. Then they get to the postseason, fall short because they turn in their worst game. If you're Georgia, you cannot play your worst game in a playoff game.
Can't lay an egg. I went a similar but slightly different route on my first one, which is, what if everybody else is just good? You know what I mean? We've entered in a world of college football where there's just more good teams. Now, I don't know if there's like in 2006 where we had Texas and USC who were so obviously better than everybody else in the sport. And you could argue that maybe those are two of the best teams to ever play college football, ever be assembled, whatever. You can put them in that. I don't know. There's a list of like 10 teams that get labeled this since I've been alive, right? Whether it be 2021 Georgia, 2020 Alabama, whether it be that 2019 LSU roster, whether it be 06 USC, whether it be 06 Texas, whatever your team might be, whatever you put up into this discussion, there's been a lot of them. But in old times, it was, like I said, USC and Texas are great. Everybody else is not within 14 points of them. Can't wait for them to play in January. That's kind of what college football was, like, honestly, until like 2018, 2019, where we kind of felt like there was one or two really, really great teams and then some maybes, right? Hey, maybe that team puts it together this year. But now it feels like we look up and there's like one consistent powerhouse in college football left after Saban's retirement. And then a bunch of, hey, man, Ohio State putting it together this year. Ole Miss putting it together this year. Ooh, is Oregon going to be able to bounce back without Bo Nix? All of these different options for maybe that team is national title contending, where it's different than it used to be. It was just, hey, these two teams.
Yeah,
so I think that's a what if. Georgia doesn't win because the rest of the pool is just better.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely in the realm of possibilities. I also want an offensive one. I think if you don't find answers at the wide receiver spot this year, then yeah, I think that also could be the Achilles heel of you, because you don't have the reliability of Ladd McConkey or Rojak this next year. You've seen spurts. I mean, I think Dominic Lovett, while was consistent last year, I mean, he had like 650 receiving yards. If his role continues to expand, maybe he becomes that. Dylan Bell, if he can put together stretches of games that he did towards the tail end of last year, or Anthony Evans or Ra Thomas or any of these guys that you got from the portal, if they can insert themselves in that room, then you're going to be more than fine. You have enough talent and you have enough resources to really excel the passing game with a guy like Carson Beck. But I think you got to find some answers, and some really good answers, at the wide receiver spot.
Yeah, weaponry been a major question mark at Georgia since I've been covering them, honestly. And it's always been like, we released it again this year. Or we released it again today for the year. Will Georgia have a 1,000-yard receiver? It's every year. Every year we write that article. Okay, you notice I didn't even tweet it out today, because it's like, damn, I've been tweeting this one out every year. So maybe it is this year. Maybe it's not. Here's one. Texas is a juggernaut. If like Texas becomes what Texas could be, you're going to have to see them potentially 3 times next year.
Yep.
And if they're that much better than you, then you won't win a national title, because you got to see them 3 times.
Just got to win the last one.
Yeah. I mean, hypothetically. Or maybe you lose the first 2 and drop Ole Miss and it doesn't matter, or whatever it is.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, you know, there's a possibility that a second loss in an SEC championship game keeps you out of 12 somehow, some way.
Yeah.
No doubt.
I've got if Carson Beck regresses. No, I mean it's kind of this like understood belief that
it's plausible but not likely.
Yeah, it's understood that he's going to get better going into this year. I mean, it'll be his 5th year with the program, 2nd year starting. He's got a full year of experience under his belt. But I mean, what if like we see a 2019 Jake Fromm scenario where he just didn't put it all together, didn't really improve?
Ooh, I would argue 2018 Jake Fromm was the worst. Sophomore Jake Fromm was not good.
I think 2019 Jake Fromm.
I think 2019 Jake Fromm, though, was a factor of a lot of different things that happened in 2019.
I mean, Jake Fromm, perennial 2,700 yards, 24 touchdowns, 6 interceptions.
Actually,
so it wasn't very much variance.
I honestly think 2018 was his best year statistically.
Really?
I think so.
I'll
look it up for
it. It was their worst year over his 3-year span, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But no.
Let's see. He had...
I can't believe this is where we ended up, digging up Jake Fromm.
2,600 yards in 2017, 2,700 yards in 2018, 2,800 yards in 2019, but his completion percentage went from 62 to 67 to 60.
But perennial 2,700 yards.
Yeah.
He went 26, 27, 28.
Yeah, pretty
perennially
much.
27.
Yep.
I've done some Jake Fromm studies. I've done some Jake Fromm studies before. That box score is B-.
Yeah.
All across the board.
Yeah.
And he got brought up in the discussions today because I don't know how Georgia fans feel about the Jake Fromm thing, but here's the problem with Jake Fromm. Jake Fromm was the guy before the guy, and that's never going to end well for you in terms of how you're remembered in history, alongside all the other stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
But nah, good dude. Seems like a good guy.
Yeah. I mean,
Questionable social media tactics. How
well,
about that?
you weren't a fan of it? That's a picture we really should have been putting up on the stream today.
Yeah.
The tool belt
somewhere on my phone.
The
had a tool DeWalt on his
baby daddy
on
tool
his
belt.
gender reveal, bro. This is wild. Look at that, bro. You can't go out like that, man.
That's the way that's a pose too.
That is a straight up blue button down with a tool belt on him with a baby bottle in it, and he's having a boy. So shouts out.
Congrats.
Good for him.
Congrats.
Good for him,
Fromms.
man. He's a Cobalt guy. I'm more of a DeWalt man myself.
Yeah.
I'm whatever's cheapest.
Granddad
right
was
now.
always DeWalt as well.
Give me whatever's cheapest.
Actually,
dude.
Granddad had no loyalty.
No Makita?
He had no
I
loyalty
don't
to
give a
anybody.
shit.
Actually,
Whatever's cheapest.
My head foreman was a Makita guy.
Yeah, for me it was you might have the DeWalt drill and then you might have a Makita something else. You know, it was just whatever was in the truck.
Whatever's
Love it.
cheapest.
Love it. Shouts out Jake Fromm. It's one of them shows, man. This is a good one. This is a good all over the place.
Yeah, no doubt.
Injuries, obviously, a reason.
Any
Georgia
injury
doesn't win.
to-
Yeah, I feel like that one was kind of
It's a
cheap
cop-out.
to lay out.
No
so.
doubt.
All right, on to our next segment, which is hardest players to replace under the Kirby Smart regime. Now, there's been a lot of great players go to the NFL. I've got a list of 4 names here, boys, that I think were not only great football players, but they were so great either in their individual performances or their individual character metrics that once they left the program, they left a really, really large hole. I have 4 names. Do you want them now?
Yeah, give us the 4 because I only have 1.
All right, I have them ranked in order as well.
Ooh, wow, we ranked
Number
them.
4, we haven't felt it yet, but we're going to feel it this year. I think SVP is going to leave a crater.
That's a good one.
An absolute crater on the inside of that offensive line. I think that was a massive one. Number 3 is I feel like this year we really felt the importance of what Jalen Carter meant to the 2022 roster.
Yeah.
And just how much he impacted everything around him. It wasn't just like, okay, Jalen's going to make a big play. It was also Jalen's going to make a big play while taking the eyesight and attention of 2, maybe sometimes 3 football players on the offensive line. Number 2, I went Nick Chubb just because of what he meant for the ground laying of the Kirby Smart regime and what he meant to the carryover process of obviously Coach Richt onto Coach Smart's time period. And then number 1, I put Jordan Davis from a whole litany of perspectives, right? It was a leadership role, but it was also like they kind of revamped and revitalized the way we play football. And I'm talking about we as like the whole entire football body. We play football differently because of Jordan Davis. Like we play 4-2-5 mint because of Jordan Davis. I don't know. And I don't know if it's 100% the way and the reason that they did it, because maybe they could have invented it with Mount Cody back in the day, but I doubt it. But having Jordan be who he was and how big he was and how athletic and mobile he was and how selfless he was, they developed a true 0 nose tackle out of a 4-down front. And I'm here to tell you, look at college football now. Look at the SEC. Look at the NFL. There are so many different programs vitalizing and putting emphasis on the 4-2-5 mint because of who Jordan Davis was and what Jordan Davis was. And now he's gone, and he's been gone for 2 years. And in my opinion, you can feel it. You can feel it every single time I turn the tape on, and they just, off basic alignment, they play football differently. Jordan Davis has been the biggest and most important and hardest to replace during this time period, in my opinion.
I'm shocked that Brock Bowers did not make this list because there's just no replacing him. I don't care who you are. You are never going.
Which is why he's off the list, because you're just not gonna.
And that's why he was on my list, because you literally are not going to ever replace Brock Bowers. It's never going to happen. Yeah. There's nobody out there. I don't care how good you are. You're not going to replace what he did. What he did for 3 years, and just especially for the position that he plays for a program that has continually searched for that. I mean, he's the king of college football at that position, but he is very much a king at Georgia.
If you are the definition of irreplaceable, you can't be put on a list of hardest to replace. You like that?
I guess. I don't know if I love it, but I guess.
I get. I went a different route with this because I mean, all those guys you mentioned are great, but we've had come up or successors to that. I mean, there's been great running backs after Nick Chubb. There was Jalen Carter immediately after Jordan Davis. I mean, there's a lot of talented tight ends in the room now. I feel like the hardest player to replace and replicate in the Kirby Smart era is Darnell Washington. You're never going to have a 6'7" tight end that can block like that on your line. What he was able to do and create let that team create 12 personnel matchups was nightmarish. And you saw the way the offense changed after he left this year. So, yeah, I mean, and think about it, like there's a 5-star linebacker coming down the pipe somewhere along the way. There's a next great running back. There's going to be a next great quarterback. I don't think even as talented as Brock Bowers was, he couldn't do some of the things Darnell Washington did. So I think Darnell Washington might not be like, wow, we lost him and like our offense crumbled, but you can really, if you know football, you really saw the impact of him not being on that team was, and their 6'7" tight ends don't grow on trees.
I think what makes SVP and Jordan Davis so special in this conversation is that they check off every single box that you could ever ask for of represented the university extremely well. Like the definition of being an ambassador for the University of Georgia was fantastic. Every single down on the football field, anything and everything, they did it. And they elevated their position group every single time that they were out there. Leadership, anything you needed of them. I think they're almost in their own category. Those two guys are in this type of conversation.
Leadership is definitely hard to replace as well. But, I mean, those come in kind of random ways. Like your center's not always your leader. It's sometimes your quarterback. It's sometimes the running back. Like Nick Chubb was the leader of that offense in 2017. So I think just from a physical standpoint and a player, like on the field impact, Darnell Washington is my answer.
I would say Darnell and Jordan had equal impacts on the systems that were put in place.
I would agree with that.
You know, you were a 12 personnel team.
Yeah.
The moment both of those guys were starting, and you became a 4-2-5-minute football team because of who Jordan Davis is.
Yeah, the only reason I didn't put Jordan Davis was because Jalen Carter had such a great year the following season, playing not the same role, but a very similar role.
Just in terms of impacting from the lines of scrimmage.
Yeah,
I understand that. All right, we talked a little bit about this discussion yesterday, or this topic yesterday. The $62 million that were donated to Missouri, $50 million on stadium renovations donated, and $12 million directly into name, image, and likeness, their collective fund up there. And the question now becomes, should Georgia be concerned about Missouri? Now, divisions have been removed, but this is still somebody who is in the Southeast and, you know, competing with you in some of your battleground states, right? The best players in Tennessee you're going to compete with now. The best players out of the DMV you're going to have to compete with now with Missouri. The best players out of the Carolinas probably going to have to go in there and battle with Missouri as well. So not necessarily the roots of the foundation or the primary source of talent acquisition for Georgia, but definitely a hindrance and a nuisance now up there, in especially the DMV area in the St. Louis area that is very, very populated with football talent. Now, here's my thing. It's not Missouri that I'd be concerned about. It is Missouri now, but Missouri is just one of the examples of what I'm telling you should be worried about. If this ultimately continues to go where it's going, which is looking like if NIL is going to be pay for play via the booster structure and the collective structure, all we got's a pissing contest between billionaires. All right. And I'm here to tell you, as much as Georgia football is great, and as much as people pay for Georgia football, and as much as the endowment and the investment and the recruiting budgets are really, really high, you ain't going to be the Yankees in this non-salaried cap structure. That's just not it. You're closer to the Milwaukee Brewers than you are the New York Yankees in terms of we got effort money. We got money that is boundless. That's not the case in terms of your NIL, both willingness to do so and access to funds. You know who does apparently have this? Missouri. You know who does apparently have this? Tennessee. You know who does apparently has this? All the good Texas programs. USC has this as well. Okay, Michigan, if they wanted to, they could get into these waters, but they're Michigan men. They're just above this, okay? So they're not really getting into it. But if it becomes a BDE off, right, a big dick energy contest, you're not going to win it. I hate to tell you that. So that would be my fear, boys, that this is just going to be some pissing contest between a bunch of billionaires, because if you look through the endowments, you don't have them. There's just not, it's not a lot of them.
That BDE comment triggered me.
Why?
What happened today on social media?
Big Drake energy is what happened today.
Yeah, dude, that was. But no, you can go ahead if you want.
I don't know if I would
You're
say
flabbergasted.
Yeah, I need to recollect my thoughts for a minute. I'm sorry.
I don't know if I would say you need to be scared of them, but I think you definitely have to recognize them and put some more respect on their name than you ever have, because the moment that they were able to keep you from getting a player like Luther Burden, that's when you needed to kind of wake up and be like, okay, like this is not slappy Missouri that's going to come in here and go 6-6, 7 or like 7-5 or whatever. This is Missouri now that is going to. I mean, heck, they're inserting themselves in recruitments that they weren't beforehand, and plus, it may not be the same talent pool that everybody else in the SEC has access to, or the really good teams the SEC has access to. But Missouri can get good football players from their region of the country. They can get talented ones.
Here's the real question: has Eli Drinkowitz ever hung his hat up at Kitty's place?
Tell me you know that one.
Yes. I don't still like. I've told you this before.
Okay.
Like, music references are not my thing. Like, I'm not a bit like I know Toby Keith, but I'm not.
Do you, all right, here's a real question. Do you understand what the lyric is referencing?
Definitely, if you hang your hat up, like you stay in the night.
Right.
Yeah, at Kitty's place. Who was the girl that the song was about? I don't know that
It's a reference to Gunsmoke, the TV show. Marshall Dillon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, like
Miss Kitty, she was a character in it.
Don't know none of that.
But no, I think Missouri is a team that you need to look at, like kind of like in the corner of your eye now, and like, hey, what's going on here? I still am not convinced that it's something that this is long term what's going to happen with Missouri. I mean, what's to say that they're not a flash in the pan season like they had last year, or they're not just the new Texas A&M where they're throwing millions and millions of dollars and just aren't getting it to stick with their roster. So I think it is something that you need to look at. And also this idea that, the landscape of college football is going to become just teams bidding and bidding and bidding. I think, yes, you're going to have that to a degree, and I think you're seeing a lot of that right now. But I think eventually the market's going to correct. Like Texas A&M shelled out millions and millions of dollars for Jimbo Fisher, and it got them nowhere, to a point where I think a lot of people were kind of turned off to that idea. So I think you're going to kind of see what you're seeing with these TV markets right now, which is you're going to have some sort of correction at some point where boosters go, like, look, we don't need to put this much money in. The Georgia Bulldogs put in a third of what we did, and they're winning national titles every year, so we're going to step back. So.
And look, here's the deal. Kirby Smart still hanging out with his best friend Dave. You know what I mean?
Known him since he was kids in school.
I mean, kids at school.
I saw you over there searching.
He was looking for it.
I was like,
He
what's
was
he
looking-
back?
He was scrolling so hard on his phone.
Bro, honestly, Toby Keith, bit edgy on some of these lyrics. So you can't use them all.
Hey, dude. It's Toby Keith.
It's Toby Keith for you.
R.I.P.
Yeah. But no, I wouldn't be worried. I wouldn't be worried about Missouri specifically. I'm worried about a spin-off.
Yeah.
Because, again, if it's a spin-off, you ain't winning, which is fine. You don't have to right now. You have the greatest coach in college football. You don't have to spend as much as everybody else. But if it comes down to that, you're not going to win, is what I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah.
And I told you that back in 2020. I wish I had like a machine, an AI, that just recorded all of my video and audio, and I could just type into it and it'd bring me up the clip.
Kind of like how you can search your text messages.
100%, but do it with my takes, because I know for a fact I sat down and compared college football top 25 rankings with high net worth individuals. Okay, meaning like once you cross a threshold of a certain amount of millions of dollars, you become deemed a high net worth individual. And Georgia has like 6 of these. For example, USC's got like 500. Okay, so it's just different playing fields,
Absolutely.
man, in terms of where some of this. I mean, Texas, for example. Texas has 4 different billionaire families that compete for BDE, all right, that compete for big man on campus. We spend the most money here. You ain't got that. I'm telling you right now, you ain't never going to have it unless, I don't know, somebody makes like $85 billion on the next GameStop and would happen to be a Georgia grad that loved football. You don't have pilot oil money like Tennessee does. You just don't. And again, we talked about this back in before. It was 2020. I remember it was before NIL came out. I said, hey, look, here's the list. These are the schools that are going to be out here traveling fast as shit once this stuff comes out. And the only schools that didn't do it were Michigan. That's it. Everybody else on that list has been well involved in all this stuff. The only one that didn't make sense was Florida State. Where's that money coming from? Which we found out from TJ was apparently a bunch of old money that's been dormant because they just haven't cared enough to do it lately. And now the floodgates have opened.
So my question is that, like, in this era where it is you have bidding wars for rosters and for certain players, why have teams like Miami, like Florida, like a lot of these like programs that were for all extensive purposes, they're considered blue bloods. Like, why have they not succeeded in this era? Whereas you have like teams like Missouri, where it's like,
have you seen Miami football games recently?
Yeah, exactly.
I was going to say, just because you're spending money doesn't mean you're spending it correctly, is what I was going to boil it down to, which is, I mean, that's modern capitalism, right? Just because you got a shit ton of money don't mean you're going to have a shit ton of success.
Yeah.
You might be spending it poorly, which some of these schools probably are.
Probably.
Right? They didn't all pan out, but, like, for example, James Williams was one of these. We would imagine, right? James Williams is going to be an NFL football player. He's not going to be a first-round draft pick, but he was a 5-star coming out of high school. People thought he might be able to. So that's a prime example, and it's just been a bunch of those. But the real reason, Miami hadn't hit on the quarterback position.
I was about to say,
You know what I mean? Like, they've been notorious for – I mean, De'Aaron King was the first one, right? They gave him crypto money.
Tyler Van Dyke's been the best one in recent memory.
You hit on the quarterback, and you'll hit. You know what I mean? Bill Belichick, prime example. Hit on the quarterback, you're going to hit.
Yeah, no doubt.
So there you go. All right, one of our last topics for tonight, Kirby Smart's best asset. Now, we can take this multiple ways. I think his best asset is obvious, so I think I should go last. What do you guys think his best asset is?
So I think mine is perfect for the conversation that we just had. I think Kirby Smart's best asset is his proof of concept of being able to develop talent.
Boy, he hit it at the right time, too.
Because he can do this exact thing of saying, I may not be able to give you $8 million to come to my program. We may not be able to sum up an absorbent amount of money and pay you big-time dollars to come play at the University of Georgia. But what I can guarantee you that nobody else can really to the level that I'm able to do it at is in 3 to 4 years, we're going to make sure you get all of that money back, and you're going to have lifetime money in the NFL. And we're going to make sure that you're a top 4 round draft pick here in the next 3 to 4 years. So I think it's his best asset because it allows him to stay up there in this upper tier of recruiting and allows him to stay in these conversations and these battles with schools that are just throwing a bunch of money at players. And he could say, it's exactly that of, I'm going to develop you better than anybody else will, and that's the biggest goal for you.
I'm going to say it right now. I could take Kendall Jenner's bodyguard. I could take him. I'm looking at him right now. I got you, bro.
He ain't the only one, bro. I promise. There's 30 of those dudes.
I'm going to tell you right now, he ain't the one, though. All right? He ain't the one. I got that dude. He's probably on some trim baloney, but it's all good. I could take that man's. But, nah, his best asset, what you got?
I have his ability to coach and develop defense. From the moment Kirby Smart was announced as the next Georgia football head coach, it was pretty much assumed that, well, the defense is going to get a lot better. And pretty much since he stepped foot on the field, Georgia's put it top 5 defense on the field even. So the fact that you can pretty much guarantee that Georgia's going to have one of the best defenses in college football simply because Kirby Smart's there, I think does wonders for your program. And in turn, does a lot for your recruiting, does a lot for your game plan, does a lot for everything else. So I think that's one of his best assets.
I think his best asset is this one right here. In a world of college football where we have seen, just take Ohio State, for example. Ohio State in the last month has had their defensive coordinator apply for different jobs, didn't get them. That's fine. He's still there in Jim Knowles. They have hired an offensive coordinator and only had that offensive coordinator turn around, and it's looking like Bill O'Brien's going to be the head coach at Boston College. That ain't happening at Georgia anymore. Like, I know there's been a bunch of coaching turnover for a long time, but for 2 straight years, he's going to have essentially the same exact coaching staff in, 3 seasons now. He's going to go from 2022 to 23 to 24 with the same exact coaching staff intact. That doesn't make any sense in this world of college football. His ability to retain his coaches has been his best asset, and it's only his asset because he's managed to do so with his friends. We made a joke before the show. Let's say Glenn Schumann gets hired away tomorrow to go to the NFL or be whatever, and he's no longer the defensive coordinator at the University of Georgia. Oh, shucks, man. You want to talk about first world problems. oh, dang, Will Muschamp, you no longer make $300,000. Now you make a $1.2 million. Or dang, Travaris Robinson, now again, you have to call plays in the SEC. And oh, by the way, you've only been doing that for the last decade. Like, this is such an advantage for him when the rest of this sport is constantly worried about losing great coaches.
Yeah, I mean, if you do lose a great coach, they go on and succeed, one, and two, you find ways to replace them. I mean, you lose Fran Brown, which was a big loss, and you replace him with Travaris Robinson. Like, the fact that you're able to not only retain so many guys, but you replace them with seemingly just as good, if not sometimes even better upgrades, I think that's a huge asset.
Georgia fans, I hope they don't take it for granted of any time a position opens up or a position on the staff opens up that you don't have to go into this panic and worry of who are you going to hire. Like when Fran Brown left, it was like, damn, that sucks. We're going to miss Fran Brown. But there was no panic of like, oh my gosh, who are we going to get? Like we're in panic mode. Like we got to find somebody now. It's just, okay, Kirby Smart's got to fill another job and he's going to get the right guy to do it.
Did we talk about Liam Cohen last night?
No, we did not.
I don't think we did.
I don't think we did either. So for those of you who don't know, Brock Vandagriff obviously transferred to Kentucky. I was under the impression that Brock and Kentucky were married long before there were any announcements that those two were going to get married. But they were silently engaged for quite some time, which means the conversations between Liam Cohen and Brock Vandagriff were probably pretty extensive, I would imagine. And there was probably some mutual interest between the two of them. Other than that, maybe he just likes the hunting scene in Lexington, Kentucky. I could imagine that being a pull for a man like Mr. Vandagriff. However, he's got left out to dry now. And this isn't a situation where, oh, don't worry, Marky Stoops can just take over the offense. That's not the case. In fact, like, he is one for his last 4 offensive coordinator hires. It's just Liam Cohen. Yeah. It's the only good hire he's made so far on the offensive side of the football. So much so that when Liam left to go to the NFL, they had to buy him back to come back to Kentucky because the hire last year went so poorly. Mm-hmm. So this is not great news for Brock Vandagriff at all.
No,
and what's up?
I was just say it sucks for him because it's stuff that you really can't control. Like, I mean, you can't control that Stetson Bennett turned into who he was. You can't control that Carson Beck won that starting job, and then you go to another school where it's basically you're deemed that you're going to be the guy, and the floor gets swept out under you, and the fact that your offensive coordinator leaves.
Now there is light at the end of the tunnel, potential light at the end of the tunnel, and that being the form of Buster Faulkner. Okay,
that would be huge.
Someone's going to do it. Someone's going to get desperate and need this to happen. Now, here's the question. If you're Buster, do you do that? You have 2 more years of Haynes King at Georgia Tech, okay? You can't do anything but shit out gold at Georgia Tech right now. Yeah. They scored 28 points. People are like, oh, my God, Buster Faulkner. Jim, let's give him a freaking award for best assistant coach in the country.
In years.
Yeah, best offense in the world. That kind of deal at Tech. And I think the next step for him, in my opinion, should be becoming a head coach somewhere. But then again, I also was like, damn, you're really leaving Georgia for the Georgia Tech job when we all know Tom Muckett going to the NFL? What's going on there? And it turned out to be a really good decision for his career. So I don't know what's going to happen up there, but they better hire somebody quick.
Yeah. Obviously it sucks for Brock, especially because it's like this is your one opportunity you felt like to really go and staple yourself and prove that you are what you were rated as coming out of high school. As far as Buster goes, obviously I think it'd be cool to see him in an SEC setting and see how that would fare for him and see what he could what kind of schemes he could draw up for a guy like Brock Vandagriff. But I agree that, honestly, you might be in the best position for you to be an offensive coordinator at Georgia Tech because ain't nobody going to get tired of you at Georgia Tech, not what you're doing.
Probably similar vibes up there in the Kentucky fan base. I mean, they got Cowboys, they got truckers, broken-hearted fools, and they definitely got some suckers.
That's I Love This Bar.
I know that song.
I'm just letting you know.
I know that song.
Just letting you know.
I told you. I know.
I'm just letting you know.
Jeez. Miss out on one lyric and all of a sudden you get freaking canned. Jeez.
Hey, I haven't fed you any lyrics.
I know, but you give me shit for it.
I've given you very modest shit.
Damn.
Semper Fi tattooed on his left arm. Hell yeah.
That's not a reference to anything, but
I mean, it's in a song somewhere.
it is in a song. Yeah, it's Born in the
one of those
USA.
songs.
Are we good?
Yeah, we're good.
I'm good. Hey, I'm gonna take some time off. I haven't been on vacation, I can't tell you how long. And so here's an Austin vacation. You ready? We're going to the beach in February.
Ooh.
Hell yeah, dude.
Right? It's gonna be
Honestly,
65 degrees.
Probably the best time to go, though.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
When-
It's a horrible time to go to the
When you
beach.
do go, are you gonna have a list under an old brass paperweight?
Yeah. A list of things that I'm gonna do today.
There you go.
Yeah. God, it's a great song.
Love that. That's probably my favorite Toby Keith song.
Where are you going, though? That's the question of, like
Destin.
Oh, it'll be warmer than
I had-
65, I bet.
I had fun in Destin.
So here,
See, but again, that's a perfect time to go to Destin because the traffic is what makes Destin suck in the summer.
AJ's. Go to AJ's.
So here's my thing, and this is me being forthcoming and honest with my audience. Next week I celebrate a year sober, and normally when dads go to the beach, they set the tent up, they sit down, and they just start hammering the beers.
Brucey's.
Obviously something that I was notorious for.
Yeah.
What am I gonna do?
Dig a hole.
Right?
Dig a fat ass hole,
Right.
bro. There's nothing more rewarding than
I would
digging
love to go to
fat
the
ass
beach
But
and
holes.
here's
dig a
the
hole
problem.
right
I
now.
hate sand. Sand.
Why are you going to the beach then?
Because my family loves
All right,
things,
well,
and you do things that your family
I understand that.
loves. You know
Absolutely.
why I hate the sand?
Why?
Friction. Too many things, too many portions of my body rubbed together to mix sand into the equation. Talking about some serious chafing.
Chafes, yeah.
Yeah.
So you're a
So-
big lake guy.
Oh yeah, love
Love
a
the
lake.
lake.
Gotcha.
Love
I
lake.
do love
Understandable.
Love me a lake.
Do some fishing.
I ain't doing some deep sea fishing. I don't have.
You don't
the,
got
I
to
don't
do
have
deep
the
sea
gear
fishing,
for that.
dude. You could do it from the shoreline. That's what me and my
I'm
family
saying
do.
I don't have the tackle. Gear's the wrong word. I don't have the tackle for that. I got tackles up to about 13-pound test because I be ripping them lips and them ponds, baby. Ain't done that in a while either.
I mean,
I
dude,
got
there's
way
no
too many bait catchers.
There's no
in the-
fishing
in the-
here in Athens. It
Huh?
stinks. There's nowhere really good to fish in Athens.
There's no ponds you can hop in Athens.
There's the Oconee River. I've tried it out a couple
you ain't
times.
fishing
though.
in the
That's
river.
catfish.
Yeah, you ain't fishing in the river. You ain't bass fishing in the
Yeah,
river.
it's
No.
catfish.
I mean, you could try to do that up in Rome, but it's not. It's
Yeah,
not
I mean,
good
you got to
fishing.
drive 30 minutes to find anything.
Hey,
That's,
Northwest Georgia, where I went to college, tremendous pond hopping fishing.
oh yeah, I believe it.
Tremendous.
I believe
Yeah.
it.
that
Way
checks
too many
out.
people with way too much money to stock their pond. With
My
fish.
hometown was pretty good till like you got the cops calling. He was like, "Oh, this is private property." So,
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Karen.
yeah, damn
Um,
shame.
Yeah, so we're going to take Thursday off. We'll be back on Monday's show, maybe, potentially, with a special guest, or maybe this YouTube channel just ceases to exist come Monday. Who knows? Love you. See you.
Dude, what the heck?
As a joke, buddy. Don't worry. I'm not.
Why'd you look at me when you said that?